Well, we can live a week in the past. It's okay. It took 36 matches for Orange County's season to finish, and while it probably wasn't the result that we all wanted, there's still plenty to talk about, and there's still plenty to look forward to this coming year. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. Ray is somewhere off in the internet trying to figure out how to get on here. We'll get him eventually, or maybe we won't. But while I bring on tonight's guests, I'd like to first ask them a question posed by our producer, beloved producer Andy. Larry, welcome to the show.
Hello, my friend.
Did Orange County in 2024 meet your expectations, exceed your expectations, or not meet your expectations?
Boy, that's a tough one to answer, because this is, since I've been a fan since late in 2018 season, this is the most taxing season I've ever experienced, including the horrific 2022 season. There was just so many ups and downs with this season. Did they meet expectations? Yes, in that the team got to the playoffs, and that's what you got to get in the playoffs to have a shot to win the whole thing. Orange County Soccer Club got to the playoffs. We got to the second round of the playoffs. But man, there was a time not too long ago when I would just be happy if we could win a game. So at the end of the day, I will say that this team met and maybe even just slightly exceeded expectations.
Fair enough. As we bring on our next guest, I would love, DK, welcome, if you would answer that same question for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season to, how the season ended, no, didn't meet my expectations, didn't meet what I expected from this team when we got, Carlson back, when we got, what was it, like 15 returning players, maybe more than that, maybe a little less. I don't remember exactly the number, but when we got basically our whole starting squad from last season, our head coach that took us into second place last season, I remember having conversations with many people saying, like, it's the Western Conference Finals or nothing. And of course, I still wish that we would have gotten to that point, but this was a roller coaster of a season, and we lost Carlson. We dealt with a bunch of injuries. So I think with how the cards were dealt to us throughout this 2024 season, getting to the second round of playoffs, I was extremely happy. And as much as I'm sad that we're out, I'm still really proud of what this team accomplished in the past few months.
Yeah, I think we only fell about 3 hurdles short of where we all hoped that we were going to be at the end of the season. And, of course, I think if you play this game 10 times, you probably don't get that same result every single time. I believe Ray is now potentially ready to join us.
He's here.
I'm hoping my audio and everything's working good.
What?
Thank you for filling in for me, Dylan, while I was trying to get everything sorted out on my end, but it seems like everything's going good. I hope y'all are doing okay after what was not the funnest of weekends. But hey, it is soccer. In the USL Championship, only one team can, lift the cup at the end of the season out of however many teams there are in the league. So the fact that we got this close to that chance, that opportunity is a good thing. Dylan.
Hey, Ray, did Orange County in 2024 meet, exceed, or not meet your expectations?
That's the most difficult question to answer right now. Based on, there's basically 3 versions of this team if you look at the season. So with where things ended up and the way things looked at some point, they met my expectations. I'm going to go with, basically, my expectations heading into the season was competing for a championship and making it to basically the final 8 of the USL is a pretty good barometer of how this team did and how close they came to competing for the championship and lifting the cup at the end of the season. If you would have asked me, like we talked about 2.5, 3 months ago, I would have totally been saying, hey, they suck. They're not meeting expectations. It was really tough for them to exceed expectations for me unless they win the championship. That was the only way they're going to exceed. So I go with they met expectations for me this season.
That was great. I think I'm just going to hand it off to you now.
Oh, I was having fun letting you control the show and me just hanging tight. Well, everyone, thank you for hanging it tight. For those that are listening or watching live, thank you for your patience as we try to get things squared away. And also thank you, producer Andy, for that very stab in the heart clip at the end of the intro. I know it wasn't you. I know that was just left over from last week and we didn't change it. And that's partially my fault. But it was at least, I guess, nice to have something fun to look at as we're going to get into this show and talk about what wasn't such a fun night in Colorado Springs. I will say this, Larry, you were full of confidence last episode. You were excited. You're like, I'm already booking my plans for the Western Conference final, for the final. So I'm going to go to you straight on this with this match against Colorado Springs. Why were you wrong?
Why was I wrong? Because I'm a man and men are always wrong. Ask our wives. They'll tell you. You have a wife. Dylan and Keith are going to have wives one day. They'll know. Why was I wrong? Orange County played very flat in the first half of this game. They were not attacking at all. They were giving Colorado Springs way too much space with the ball. Frankly, I am happy that it was 1-1 at halftime. I think we got a lucky goal with Zubak. Here we go. Watch it right here. Nobody knows what's going on. He's like, did I just score? Oh, wait, it's in the goal. It's not in the goal. Okay, I scored. Good. When you play like that in the first half, and I think we can all agree Orange County did not play well in the first half at all. Much, much better in the second half, though. Why was I wrong? Because I know the least about tactics of anybody here. So I'm all emotion, and my emotion is always going to run high and run on the positive side of things. That's what I do. Except tonight I'm sad, Butterfest.
Disappointing you. I wasn't as disappointed in the early part of this match. I know it wasn't the greatest look for Orange County, but in my mind, I was looking at this match that Orange County had to somehow steal this match. I didn't think they could go head to head with Colorado Springs in Colorado Springs and have an evenly played match and play their thing and get the victory. I thought they would need some lucky bounces, and we saw that early on with the goal from Ethan Zubak. Unfortunately, we allowed Colorado Springs to answer back quickly and couldn't really recover from that. Part of that probably is the altitude. The struggles. I think they were trying to sort of manage their energy levels throughout this match because the altitude is a difficult thing to play with when you're trying to give your all and fight for this. But it didn't work out for Orange County. DK, your thoughts? What did you see from Colorado Springs that led to their advancing on this in this match?
Yeah, I mean, I think they overtook our midfield, which I don't think can be a surprise to anybody, seeing as we had a lot of injuries in our midfield and the depth in the midfield was just not there. I think Ashish Chadha and Seth Kasipli both had solid games just as they did against Memphis, but I don't think Colorado allowed them to be the anchors that Memphis allowed them to be in, not only pushing forward in possession, but also coming back on defense. I mean, that Colorado Springs goal, the first one with Zandy, if I'm saying his name correct, he was just completely open at the top of the box. And you can't help but wonder if Partita was there, if he would have ever been allowed to take that shot. And not only that, is he almost had the same player, almost had the exact same goal, like 15 minutes later. Like, we just kept leaving so much space open right at the top center of the box. And, that kind of plays into our midfield a bit. Luckily, I think that we were, as Larry kind of mentioned, I think in the second half, we were able to come back a little stronger. But by the end, in the 85th minute, we just looked gassed. and going into overtime at that point with no real depth to replace players that could stand up to a tough Colorado team. I think that's just where we fell apart.
Yeah, it was difficult in that midfield. I know the announcers even brought up the lack of that there was no Kyle Scott in there, and that was a big blow for Orange County. I believe the broadcasters made the comment of that he's when he's on, he's one of the best in the USL Championship as a midfielder. So you mentioned Partita. Without Scott there, that's difficult to really make up for. I agree. If we have those two in the lineup, it's a totally different matchup for Orange County. I think we control that midfield a lot better. No disrespect to players like Ashish Chadha, Seth Kasipli. It's just those two just somehow, some way take control of a match like this, like a win or go home type match. Dylan, let me ask you this, and I'm going to throw a couple things at you, and then you can just say what you want to say. My son, at the beginning of this match, was hoping for PK shootout for whatever reason. He wanted it to go to PKs because they're exciting. That was sort of his word. I was a little upset about that. So obviously when it went to over or extra time, I blame him for that because he was wanting PKs. We didn't quite get there. The other thing that, and this is again, analysis for my son, 12-year-old son. He was very unhappy with the performance of Christian Sordo in this match. Numerous times he felt Christian Sordo gave up on going after the ball, made mistakes when he came in late in the match. Do you agree with that analysis from my son Kian on Christian Sordo's performance? And then whatever else you want to talk about.
I think he was wasteful in possession, and he was much different the week prior. But I think some of that is both, and I said this privately, but both teams looked gassed at halftime. And with the match level, once we got past the hour mark, no one was going to commit the numbers forward to really risk conceding if they didn't score. So it kind of seemed destined for extra time, an hour in, but I don't think Sordo is the reason that we didn't win this, or we didn't get anything out of this in the final 20-25 minutes. I think there was another player who came on as a substitute that also didn't do a lot of tracking back or defending, and that was frustrating. But this did seem like a game where maybe just emotionally it was hard for our team to kind of handle the moment. And it's hard to do that week in and week out. And it's hard to do that when you're supposed to play on Saturday and, oh, nope, get back on the bus. We're going back to the apartments and we're going to play on Sunday now. All of these things, I think, add up. And I've said it before in this podcast. I think I've been saying for almost 4 years now, if you score in the first 10 minutes, if you don't score again, you're probably not winning that match because it just invites way too much time for a team to pay you back. And it only took the Switchbacks a few minutes to do that. What I'd love to see, one final thing. Sorry, Ray. What I would love to see is Orange County defending the top of the box, especially in Colorado Springs. I don't think that falls to a Kevin Partita. I think that falls more on a maybe more advanced midfielder to kind of drop into that role, because ultimately Partita in this kind of situation is going to be pretty far back. Yeah. So
maybe a Kyle Scott would be able to do that for you, what you're wanting out of the midfield.
Yeah, I think, or just even if you have the players available at that point, a lack of depth as you head into the final 30 minutes of a match at 6,500 feet is maybe one too many things going wrong.
Let me go to you, Larry. And I know you're a baseball ump. You're not a soccer ref, but I always like to ask you the ref-related questions because you at least can relate to what might be going on in the mind of a ref. How was there only 1 minute of stoppage time in that final 15 of this match?
That's obviously that. Even being a baseball umpire, I can answer that question about the soccer ref. He can't freaking count. Simple. That was ridiculous. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the simple analysis from you, Larry. My thought on it is maybe he's freezing. He just wants to get out of there. He doesn't want to stay another 5 minutes on the pitch. What were y'all thinking at the watch party?
We were thinking, what the hell just happened? And being cold, listen, when I trained for the LA Marathon back in 18, I was getting up at 4:00 in the morning, going down to Dana Point and running when it was about 38 degrees outside. Once your body starts moving and start going, you do not feel that cold. The referee was running for 90 minutes. Okay. He wasn't feeling cold. He wasn't ready to go home. He just said, I got a date at the bar, something. I don't know. That was the most ridiculous thing ever, because the one dude laid on the ground for 90 seconds. And I don't even remember which guy it was for Colorado. That was a travesty. That was an absolute travesty. So, yeah, not happy about that one at all. And I believe in that. Northgate was happy about it.
I believe in that final 15, there was the concussion stoppage or the head injury stoppage. There was a couple other times where players were cramping up on both sides, really. And also, I believe their goalie took about 45 seconds every time he had the ball to release the ball or kick it, punt it, whatever he was doing. So yeah, I was a little confused on that. And again, I'm going to bring up my son. I should have him on the show because he was actually pretty on top of all this. He was even upset. Like, I think the first question when they said 1 minute is like, he looked at me and said, how is there only 1 minute of stoppage time? And again, 12-year-old son is the one that's talking about this. So if y'all at the watch party were looking at this and he's seen that, I mean, that's pretty crappy. DK, what would you have liked to see from Orange County this match? What should they have done to be successful here? I know you already talked about the midfield aspect of things, but what else could we have seen, or what did you see from this that we were lacking other than that midfield? And just talk. I don't care. Whatever you have to say.
Oh, just talk. I just talk about anything.
Don't really care what you have to say, but say
right,
something.
Yeah, just say something. I mean, the whole season I've been, negative against long balls, despite us having, some players on the wings that do have the pace to catch up to them, like Jamison and Dunbar. But I just haven't really seen the results of that tactic play out too often. I mean, I think, we got a great lucky goal in the first 4 minutes, by just hoofing it up the field. But other than that, that was kind of the strategy of the game. And the best that I've seen this team play, especially in the past, couple months, has been when we pass through the midfield, get the team to come in center and then open up Dunbar and Jamison on the wings, and then do some grounded through balls to them to open up crosses, either to Dunbar, Jamison, or Dogman running up the line. And I just didn't really see that much in this match. I think our passes were a bit sloppy overall. It's been already kind of mentioned in the chat a lot, just a lot of unforced errors. And I think that, comes from maybe a lack of confidence of passing up the field against a tough switchbacks opponent. But that was probably my most frustrating element. And, every time we did it this season, I was always frustrated by it. So when I saw it happening a ton in this match, that was obviously going to be where my negative focus was.
I mean, and you got to think about part of that tactical aspect of things, right? Is if you have three of your key midfielders in there, I'm talking about Kevin Partita, Kyle Scott, and Brian Olowski included in that, it's probably a totally different tactical setup with his team. And they're probably actually utilizing the pass through the midfield and building up play through the midfield, because you have three quality players with the ball at their feet that know how to do what they're doing. When you have to link in other players, and nothing against the players that were in there, it's a struggle, and you're trying to tactically find out what works in there. Larry, I'll go to you, and then I want to give Dylan a last chance before we move on for a moment.
I just want to comment on what you said about having Brian, Kyle, and Kevin. If we have Brian, Kyle, and Kevin all season for 34 games, we are not the number 6 seed in the West. We are, New Mexico was awful good this year, but I guarantee you, I 100% guarantee you that we are the number 2 seed in the West. And this game is being played in Orange County. It's not being played in Colorado.
So if anyone has a way to jump multiverses here and we can find out if Larry's correct on that, let me know what you know. If you can find the multiverse that has the healthy Brian Olowski, Kevin Partita, Kyle Scott, let me know so we can verify that for Larry. Dylan, last thoughts on this match before we move on.
To provide a counterpoint about the long ball not being an effective way to play against Colorado, does anybody remember the 2017 season and who maybe was the starting forward for Orange County for a brief month? You might recognize him as the guy that was wearing number 14 playing for Colorado Springs as a center back on Sunday afternoon. And that is none other than Duke Lacroix, who was a forward and has since moved to the wing and then was a fullback, an attacking fullback, mind you, and is now apparently a center back. But Duke Lacroix is maybe 5'9". That's what he's listed as. I think that's generous, and I mean, it's typically a lie. And then Matt Mahoney, who played next to him, is listed at 5'11". So yeah, when you've got I think 6'4" or something, Ethan Zubak, 6'1", Ethan Zubak. Yeah, you take advantage of that size. And you especially take advantage of that size when it's worked well. Get the ball into the midfield, try and move up the pitch a little bit, and then spring one of the wingers onto it. It's a minor adaptation on what we did. It didn't work out. And, unfortunately, that's the nature of the playoff. We don't have a reverse fixture to try and make it happen again.
Yeah, that is the difficult thing with the playoffs. It's one match. You got to win that one match or at least, advance in that one match. Can't lose. You can't get knocked out. It's not like other sports like basketball, baseball, hockey, where you can lose a match and you still have a chance because you have to win multiple games to proceed. We'll have opportunities as we hit our off-season schedule to talk more about the disappointments, the results, even this last match against Colorado Springs. That's something that if you've been following the show for the past 5 years, we like to do a good bit of talking as we head into the off-season, including a season recap, grades, awards, all that fun stuff. We'll have opportunities to discuss that. But for now, I want to move on, and we're going to bring on a guest here. This guest was on our show back in, I believe it was August, and sort of we asked about the team and what's going on or what can we expect or what we'll see. And this is what we had on that conversation.
And we don't just need to get into the playoffs, 8th spot. We are actually currently in 8th spot. And I know people have got games in hand, but in this league, everyone's beating everybody. So there's still 27 points available. Not only can we get 8th place, but we can also actually still get a home playoff if we put a run together. And as you've seen over the years, it's how you finish the season that matters in American soccer. And I think the message to fans is, look, this is not great. We know it's not great. It won't be like this again on Saturday. And actually, we really need your support because this season is very, very salvageable.
So the season was salvageable. The team made a run to get into the playoffs. They didn't get up to that home playoff spot, but they did get to the 6th seed in the Western Conference. That is the expert analysis from the general manager, business operations, Mr. Dan Rutstein. Dan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. My hair is a bit grayer than it was from that clip in August, I think.
So, I mean, you sort of were on something there, right? This team was sitting at eighth place. You knew the team had something in them to move up. They got up to the 6th seed, were able to get the upset of Memphis. Unfortunately, it ended in a very tough Colorado Springs match. That's a very tough place to play. There's a reason why Colorado Springs does really well at home matches in the playoffs. How proud are you of the team, what they did to finish the season? And from a business side of things, how does that play into your role in this off season and moving into next season?
Yeah. I mean, look, well, first of all, obviously, thank you for your support. That in August, James wrote a letter to the fans. I spoke to people. I came on here and the message was, it's not great at the moment, but we feel like there's something there and the season is salvageable, and we need the fans to get behind us. And the players responded to that. Obviously, new coach came in, made a huge difference. We were the form team going into the playoffs. But the atmosphere at the stadium for the last few games was exactly what we'd hoped. We had our best ever Wednesday. So best ever midweek game. There's some big and loud and engaged crowds, and that's what we had wanted to see. We sort of knew that with players coming back from injury, there was something there, and we needed the club to stay together, the fans to stay together, and let's see what happens. And it sort of worked, and we went on an extraordinary run. I just, unfortunately, I think you've said it to an extent. It was one extra time too many. James put a statement out today. I think you've seen Danny's brief interview. The word that's being used a lot is pride. I think as a team, the one thing you can completely control is your level of effort. And I think Danny said it today in his interview, is that the players, you could see, I mean, they were out on their feet, but to a man, they worked incredibly hard, and they gave everything. And I think for fans, that's all you can really ask for, is just seeing the team give everything. So obviously it's not the end to the season that we would want. I was in the dressing room after the Memphis game, and there was just a feeling that I remember feeling from 3 years ago. I think the team genuinely felt that this was their time. Obviously 21, if you remember, was not an amazing season either mid-year. It wasn't quite as roller coastery, but the manager was let go after a 4-0 home defeat, I think it was. And the team just hit form at the right time. And it felt like it was doable. But I don't know, it's such a shame, because I think if we had managed to scrape past Colorado, you'd fancy yourselves on a trip to Vegas. And I mean, I don't know how it's going to end up, but either potentially Rhode Island or, what a perfect revenge game against Charleston. I think this might have been the hardest game we would have faced of the last three. So it's a shame that the season ended this way, but I think everybody associated with the club can be really proud of the players and the effort they made. I mean, they were, I mean, you look at the bench. I mean, we had kids on the bench again. We've had kids playing all year. We've had games with 3 or 4 teenagers playing in them. That's not what other teams are doing. So for us to have gone as far as we have with the philosophy and the sort of the real values of the club behind that about player development, it's not the season we wanted, but it ended exactly how we would have hoped, with the players giving everything.
Yeah, and I want to correct myself, and thanks DK, president of business operations, not general manager of business operations.
Yeah,
Dan
I get called all sorts of things by all sorts of people. So everything you said was polite, so I'm fine with that.
Let me ask you this, and then I'll pass it on to one of my co-hosts here. The team did a really good job this season of trying to, engage fans, build that connection with fans, market the team, a bunch of great stuff. From a business perspective this season, how pleased are you with the results from what you've seen, and what do you think the team can improve on next season?
Yeah, so obviously, as you know, we have different roles at the club. Pete is in charge of the football stuff and can take all the credit for what the boys did on the field. From a front office point of view, I think it's been a success. So I think if you look at sort of the very pure business stuff, it was a record year for attendance. It was a record year for ticket revenue. It was a record year for merchandise sales are up somewhere around 40%. It's been a record year for corporate sponsorships. We announced, the Hogue deal, Taqueria Oi, with the longest partnership in club history at 6 years. So basically in every single category on the business side, we set a new record, and in some cases significant percentages, which is great. I think one of the things for me, for those of you who were there on the 20th of July for Owners' Night, that was a hell of a night. I think people were in tears. Like some kid from Tennessee who'd got a Saturday job, I think washing cars, to be able to afford his stake in the club, and then just desperately came and took a selfie with James. The club means something to people, and I think we sort of knew that after what happened with the stadium. But I think with the Owners' Night and everything that the ownership has meant, I think that's been huge. So from a business point of view, I think it's been a success, and the stadium looks better now, with all the branding and stuff we've got up now. And I think it felt better this year. I don't know. Before I talk about next year, do you agree with, as from a fan's point of view, if you throw in things like the march to the match that we did the other day, the bar staying open after the game near the end as well, some of these sort of new things, when you're the real fans, has it been a good year for fans in the stadium, off the field?
Without question, Dan. Absolutely, without question. I missed the march to the match. I brain cramped that day, so I missed it. But then I saw some of the videos some of the people took, and that was cool. And personally, I would hope that the club brings that back. And let's make it a thing. Let's get 1,000 people marching to the stadium for a game. That would be an amazing thing to see. So, but I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. First of all, the question I always ask you when you come on: what are we drinking tonight?
Nothing, actually.
Wow, how very disappointing.
Yeah, although I'll tell you, you'll like this. Maybe you won't. I'm going to tell you anyway. I nipped back to England for 3 days this week for my dad's 80th birthday, and we gave him as a present a shirt with Grandpa 80 written on the back, which he was very excited about. And I was drinking a Hague Gold label, which was the drink they had at their wedding 56 years ago, which weirdly still got half a bottle left. So unlike your wedding, Larry, there was booze left over from this one, and it's lasted over half a century. So my current drink at the moment is whiskey that's older than, not all of you, but some of you.
It's older than everybody but me, it would seem. That's actually pretty cool. I want to ask you a little bit about the front office atmosphere. Okay, we've got this 6-0 loss, and it doesn't get any bleaker than that. But then we come back and we have Las Vegas the next Saturday, go up 2-0 in the first half, lose 3-2, and then go on this amazing run. How did the atmosphere in the front office change from week to week to week, right up until this morning walking into the office?
Yeah, look, so it's a good question. I think anyone who has worked in sport will tell you that the key message to get in for a front office is you can't control anything that happens on the field. So don't base everything on the team needing to win. Now, we all say it, not just me, everyone in every sport says it. We don't always mean it, but we say it. And I think, this is one of the things, and I've said this to my team a lot. It's different in football. So if you're in baseball, genuinely, you've got to work like that, because when there's 81 games, even a team who are winning, like a Dodgers, will still lose 10, 15 games during the year. And half the people leave the stadium not knowing the score. So, it's all about, bobbleheads and trying to make the traffic flow as quickly as possible and all that stuff. For front office, we have to work on this. We have to work on the assumption that, we can do nothing about it. So, and there will be fans like you guys who come week in, week out. And obviously every team has those fans and we're grateful to those fans. But there are people who come because it's scout night. And they're in the scouts, and they don't know whether we're top of the table, bottom of the table, middle of the table. They don't even know who we're playing potentially, but they're coming because somebody brought them along. Some people come because there's a food truck they like. Some people come because they're Ducks fans and it's Ducks night. Everyone's got a sort of different reason to come to the stadium. So we always say to the team, what I say to my team is whatever happens on the field, we're a football club who are an entertainment company. We're in the memory making business. Everyone needs to feel special at the games. And, we can set the atmosphere up for the team to do well by having a big crowd there. But beyond that, there's nothing we can do. So let's make sure that we get our stuff right, that, the halftime games are engaging and, we make sure there's a good variety of food trucks and we managed to get some beers that are a bit cheaper as the season went on because there was one or two people who somehow thought that the beers were too expensive. So, we do what we do all of that stuff. But I'm also English and I'm a football fan. So they all know when I give my speeches about, it doesn't matter about the results, I secretly obviously care massively, and it makes a difference. And when we won 1 in 10, 1 in 11, I think it was in that middle stretch, it was tough. Obviously, I spoke to some of you at the fake Jimmy Buffett concert we had, season ticket holder event at, which was right in the middle of it. I think that was the day Paul had left, I think it might have been. And I said to the fans, thank you for your support through thick and thin. We think this season there's still something to play for. Please come and support us. And you have, and it's worked. And obviously from a practical front office point of view, every game we win, it's a little bit easier to sell tickets for. The season ticket window, I joked at some point that we started selling season tickets, I think, when we were still not doing very well, which is not, it's just the way these things work. But I imagine genuinely there'll be a few season tickets that will have been sold in the last couple of weeks by people excited about the playoff run. So it's definitely been, it's a happier place around any organisation when you're winning. My team are very professional and they'll do what they need to do regardless. But it's been a happy place. I think everyone was sort of desperately hoping for the Vegas trip next weekend, partly because it's Vegas and partly because it's a conference final. Overall as a team, we're happy with the year and we're happy with the way the season has gone, and we're disappointed we didn't get 2 more weeks.
Yeah, so are a lot of us fans, but we were talking about that right when we started the show, whether the team met, exceeded, or, didn't meet our expectations. I have one more question, and actually Chuck Eldridge asked it in the fan chat area there. Can you give us any insights into maybe some new stuff for next year? Maybe some other promotional giveaways? Can you give us any hints, any ideas on that stuff yet, or is that still the planning coming up?
Yeah, so we have started next year's planning. We started it in sort of August, which you have to do, whether you're going to have a long season, long post-season or not. Once we knew we didn't have a home game, which we did whenever it was 10 days ago, we accelerated all of that stuff. So we've had off-sites and all-day planning meetings. I think there'll be a lot. I'm not going to give much away at this stage because there's still a lot we've got to work through. And I haven't even told the team some of the things that, my team, some of the things that I think we want to be doing. But I think we understand what sort of club we are, and we see that we're growing. And I think, as I said, and you agreed, this year's felt very different. I deliberately wanted to try some stuff out at the back end of the year, like the march to the match, like leaving the bar open. So we're not going to march to the match every game, but we will march to the match at least, I imagine, a half a dozen times next year. We'll probably have bars remaining open after wins. Because you could do it for every game, but I don't think you actually people will want to. But I think we might have a thing where we leave the bar open after a win. But yeah, I think things in the stadium will look different. There'll be some new things we're going to try. We're a growing club. I think we only sold out 3 games this year, having sold out 5 the year before. I've challenged the team to sell out more than half the games next year. We've got some new partners we're going to sign in the off season. And I think there'll be some changes. It'll feel different. Things will be called different things, and things will feel different. And I think we're gonna, it felt for me it was a bit rushed, taking advantage of the 10-year deal. Like we did some things, we put some branding up, but we didn't really do much more than that because it was decided in October, but that doesn't give you very long. But we've had a whole year of this stuff. So we got longer to take advantage of the stadium being ours, if you see what I mean. So I'd like to think when you come in on what will probably be the 22nd of March, I imagine, for the home opener, that it will feel different, and there'll be more of the stuff you like and more of the stuff that we want to be able to give you that haven't been able to. And, we'll set up fan experience in a way that will be noticeably improved, would be my aims for the off season.
Well, Dan, my aim for the new season is going to be to get you to take a shot of Malort with the CLC at some point next season. And we talked in Vegas, and we talked about playoffs, and I know it didn't happen. So I'm just saying that I'm not going to forget into 2025, and we're gonna get you to take that tradition with us.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to forget that you're not going to forget. I'll happily go on record here if we have a home playoff game next year, which I think, we're talking about expectations. I think one of you said it at the beginning of the show, at the beginning of the year, with all the players returning, I think we all thought top 4 was very doable. At one stage, our injury list was longer than our starting 11. And I think that's really hurt us this year. But, I don't know what Pete's got planned for the off season, but Pete has done an extraordinary job over the years in terms of bringing players in, keeping the right ones, bringing the new ones in. So I genuinely have nothing to say on any of that. It's all the season only ended 48 hours ago. But I feel confident that we'll be in a strong position. And the aim is always playoffs, and the aim is always the top 4. So I'll do a shot with you for a home playoff game. And 2 if it's a conference final. And 3 if it's a championship final.
Yeah, exactly. Whether we're traveling or not, I'll have it with me. So,
all right.
Producer Andy, clip that so we can definitely hold it.
Yes, exactly. It's okay. He remembers Vegas, so I think he'll remember now.
Yeah, I just about remember Vegas. And I think, what's exciting is, the sort of the king is dead, long live the king. Like the season's 48 hours, in the past, and we're deep into planning. I've got a 5-hour meeting tomorrow to get into a lot of the stuff for the off season, but we're expecting we won't be announcing them quickly, but within a week, we're going to have next year's schedule. And so from our point of view, we start dropping in the promotional schedule and working out how many beer fests we're going to have and all the other stuff that we do in the off season. But it comes quick. And I don't know how quickly sort of tickets will be on sale. I know obviously season tickets are well underway, but we're already, Pete will be in recruitment mode, and on our side, we'll be trying to work out what the hero graphic is going to be for our home opener. Even though that game won't be for 5 months, we're into that stuff, and it's sort of, I'm already excited for next year. I think that's how football works. I'm excited as a business person. I think there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff next year we can do as a club, but then also with a sort of an eye on it as a fan. Like, it's exciting when you see who you're going to play first, and you can see when the Vegas trip is, and you size up who's which of the teams in the Eastern Conference ends up in the Western Conference, if you see what I mean, like Memphis, and you start getting excited about the season to come. So we're ready to plan and make it special, and we're excited for next year.
Yeah, no, and that's a perfect kind of segue just into my next question, which is, does the club have any kind of off-season plans to keep the, fans engaged and excited for 2025, whether that's through promotions or events or, just season ticket holder, kind of promotions. And, something that I personally would like to see, and I don't know if it's on your guys' radar, but as a potential watch party partner for next season, because I think those away games, even when we can't travel, are extremely important and exciting, as you could have seen in Northgate, just a couple of days ago.
Yeah. So where are we? So there'll be a season ticket holder holiday party. As I think there have been in previous years. I imagine it will be at Winterfest again. I think my Megan, who the nice lady who smiles at you when you buy merchandise, I think she wants to do a holiday shopping party as well, which would be nice. And then life comes at you fast, and it will be pre-season before you know it. So I think the players come back mid-January. So obviously I don't know exactly where we are, but there'll be some kind of mid-February sort of test event, season ticket holder and owners, lunchtime kickoff against somebody or other like we did. I think this year it got rained off. Well, not rained off, but it was miserable weather. So that wasn't great. But a version of that again. And then, all the usual activities that we've got planned for the year. I think in terms of the watch party, I'm a big believer in partnerships. So it's become a joke in the office because I take the whole partnership thing seriously. If you're a partner of the club, you're a partner of the club, and we should treat you properly. So, I banned Chick-fil-A in the office once we moved to Raising Cane's as the official chicken partner. So when I buy lunch for the team, I only buy from partners. It's how sports teams should work. I only wear Hummel shoes at matches now. It's something we take seriously. So I was rather pleased that we managed to get the Mercado for the watch parties. So I imagine some of you were at the kit launch that we did in February there, which I thought was really nice. It's an amazing facility. So I was glad because there's obviously, 100 bars in Orange County we could do watch parties in, but it's important to do it with the partners who have committed to the club, because that's how it works. So I was pleased, and obviously I wasn't at either watch party, but from what I saw, and Larry, I know you were definitely at one of them, if not both. Was that a great place to watch football?
Northgate.
Go on, say what you like.
Things were a little bit shaky to start the game.
Yes.
For me personally, a huge crowd like that in a small area is a little bit overwhelming for my senses because I'm an old guy and it doesn't work for me. That's why I like being down pitch side during games because I can get away from some of the noise a little bit. The watch party that we did at the Harp, it was a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate. It was a little bit more CLC than non-CLC. So there was that, and that was a lot of fun. But I think that watching the people at the Mercado, I think people really enjoyed it. And one person's opinion doesn't hold a lot of weight when you had, I think we probably had 170 people there or so at the Mercado on Saturday. It was a pretty good crowd, and they got loud, and there were some people who were trying to join in with the CLC guys who were there, and we were singing. So, I mean, it wasn't a bad experience. I think they just need to dial in a couple of things. The audio was, we saw Ethan Zubak score the goal. We didn't hear the call until about 9.5 seconds later. So, but they got that sorted at halftime. So, I mean, it wasn't bad. The overall experience, I give it a 7. The food was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know there were some technical issues for the first game. I think we resolved some for the second. That not every bar has FanDuel TV, and so there's something to work on there. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing more of that sort of stuff next year. I want the fans to get together as often as they can, and some things we'll do as a club. And obviously, if people want to go to the Heart, we're not going to stop anyone or shame them for not going to the official club one. That's not how sports works, or how fandom works. So we are going to try and give people what they want and work with our partners. And there's a couple of other breweries we're talking to about potential sponsorships. And obviously that will mean events there as well. But we hope to have a decent amount of sort of non-football match events during the year next year as part of sort of what we're doing as a community. So, when we get together at places to do stuff for charity, with the fans and the players, there'll be more of that stuff as well, because, we're a community club and we need to lean into that.
Dan, I almost feel like the evil person here. I think everyone else is all excited, and I'm just here to ask questions from the chat. One thing I've seen pop up multiple times is mentioning safe standing and needing safe standing. Admittedly, mostly from the supporters group, but are there any plans to develop the stadium further now that we're locked in?
There are some plans to develop the stadium. I think it's going to be a multi-step process, but making changes to a facility that you don't own is still complicated, even with a long-term deal. But there are some plans to do some things in some places, which we hope to be able to do in the off season, and then maybe in the summer as well when the stadium shuts for a month. So we have plans, and some of it will be about what we can do with our partners to make it all work. But we're a growing club, and we need to do some things differently, and we want to be able to we're in the bottom third of the league for attendances and other revenues related to that, and we want to move up through the ranks, and so obviously the stadium and how it's housed and who's there and how we can get people in and what they experience is all part of that. So definitely nothing concrete to share yet, but we hope the stadium will be getting larger, not smaller, as time goes on.
I love the diplomacy of all of your answers every time you're on, Dan. Truly a model professional. Another question that was brought up, I gotta find it. Any chance for the minority owners to be more involved?
If I can ask a question, what does more involved look like from your point of view?
I don't want to speak for everybody, but I would just assume that beyond putting some money in there, they're hopefully getting what my brain thinks is more of an owner's night kind of situation again.
Yeah. So what we're not going to do is have been some extraordinarily poor examples of, I think, was it Ebbsfleet United, where the owners picked the team. It didn't work very well. And there's been some other weird, like crypto-based ones where I think fans vote on what song the players run out to. We chose not to do any of that sort of nonsense. But obviously we're cognizant there are season ticket holders who are an important part of the club. And then obviously there's ownership, which is different. And some people are both, and some people are one or the other. So we have to be slightly careful we don't end up disenfranchising one group just to please another, if you see what I mean. But we've done some things this year. Obviously, owners' night. We opened up early. We gave out the staff. It was all very nice. I think for the last game of the year, we opened up what was normally the season ticket holder gate got opened up early, and owners could get in early. I think owners got, not that we ever got to release it, but the way football works, we had to create where are we? What game was it? Would have been the Oakland game in the system, because if Oakland had beaten Colorado, we would have had to go on sale at 7:30 on a Saturday night. So while building that, there was going to be an exclusive window for ticket buying, which was going to be season ticket holders and owners. So there will be some things next year we're looking to incorporate into some of the improvements around the stadium where owners can get some of the benefits as well. Because I think that's part of it. And obviously we're running the ownership campaign in the UK at the moment, which is quite a lot of fun. We've had, I think, 250 people have become owners from the UK, which I think is rather nice. So that will grow. There will be another owners' night next year, obviously be a bit different, because we won't be giving the stuff out in the same way, but there will be an owners' night next year, and we've got some stuff planned around that. So like I say, we're not going to do any of the silly stuff, but we want the owners to feel like part of the club in a special way, even if they don't get to decide who plays up front.
Yeah, I find that incredibly disappointing, because I just want you to know, if you followed along all season, some people had very, very great ideas for exactly how the team should show up on a Saturday night. I mean,
it's funny how
excellent
fans
takes.
do that.
Yeah. One final one from Matthew. Are you planning to retain Gnarly? I want to add on to this one. We're not going to go the way of Yubi, are we? Which I think is maybe a reference you won't understand. What's the plan for the big orange fuzzy fellow?
Well, you're testing my diplomacy skills here. keep an eye on Gnarly next year. That's all I'll say for now.
That seems vaguely threatening, but I think we have no choice but to allow it. Ray, take it away. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, Dan, we're going to wrap things up with something new that we've been doing this season, or at least the second half of the season, is we do 10 quick this or that questions. You have to answer them as quickly as you can. We'll see if everyone can get the theme of this week's this or that. So again, Dan, answer them as quick as you can. First, this or that. Plow Lane or Championship Soccer Stadium?
Oh, start with the hardest question ever. It's
They'll get
Plow
harder.
Lane. Okay.
All right.
Plow Lane.
The Dons Trust or OCSC fan ownership?
Don's Trust.
EFL League 2 or USL Championship?
USL Championship, because I hope Wimbledon won't be in EFL League 2 for long.
Battling for promotion or battling for playoff contention?
Battling for promotion still has to be better.
Hummel or Umbro?
Hummel.
London or Southern California?
Southern California.
The FA Cup or US Open Cup?
That's not even a real question, right? The FA Cup, which all of the top teams want to play in.
Hayden or Gnarly?
Oh, Gnarly.
Here's a tough one. MK Dons or LA Galaxy?
This is very good. I guess the answer is the one I hate the least, I guess. So LA Galaxy.
And then this is the best one right here. If you haven't figured out the theme, AFC Wimbledon or OCSC?
AFC Wimbledon.
All right, there we go. 10 quick this or that's from Dan. Thank you for participating in that. I knowing your love for AFC Wimbledon, I had to just go with that theme right there and see how things go. And
Yeah,
awesome.
it was.
I love your reactions.
It was very, very well done indeed.
Awesome. Dan, any last comments to the fans as we head into this off season, and anything you want to say to the fans that may be listening?
So I actually think I say this every time when you say any last thoughts, and I always say the same thing. So I'm just going to say the same thing because I always mean it, which is a massive thank you to, I guess, directly to you gentlemen who do this, and then to the broader fan base who listen to this. So as you just heard from what I just did, my team is my team. It's, obviously I love this job and I love the work here and the team and the people I've met. But, I've been an AFC Wimbledon fan for 40 years. And when you support a club, we've been relegated. We were in the 13th division at one point when I was following them. Like, there's nothing you can do. You're stuck. You don't just start watching because the team's winning. You're a fan of the club through thick and thin. And somehow in the last 4 years I've been here, we've had lots of thick or thin. And the fans, stay committed through all of that. So I think even when I started at the club, you were, a committed group of fans with maybe a slightly smaller audience. And now the club is more popular. We're selling out games. There's more people walking around Orange County and the rest of the world wearing Orange County gear. And, you're the core of that. And you were here from the beginning. And so your commitment to the club is noted and welcomed, and we're grateful for it. And, when we put out that message 10 weeks ago that said, please believe in us, we think there's something left of this season, rightly or wrongly, you believed us. And, you stuck with us. And that means a lot to my team in the front office, and it means a lot to the players as well. So you say to your specific core, including Andy and that, who really support the team. I think that's really special. And I say to your broader audience, supporting a football team is not easy. Supporting a football team in the second division of American soccer in a country where everyone's obsessed with the other sports doesn't help. But you have found a thing that we all know is special, and we want to keep it special. And we're grateful to you all for that. And this year has been a genuine roller coaster. I think we've all used that word quite a lot, and you've been through it all with us. And you should know that we are planning, as we always do, my front office, to work really hard to make sure that you can be fans of this club in the most enjoyable, user-friendly, best experience, best memory-making way we can. We can help you create for next year. So once again, it's a thank you.
Awesome. Thank you once again, Dan. Everyone, President of Business Operations for your OCSC. That's Dan Rutstein. Dan, thank you as always for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again in the near future.
Brilliant. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Dan.
Awesome. And if you didn't know by now, Dan is an experienced podcaster. I think he does his own podcasting. He knows how this works. Thus, he loves to talk, and that's why we love talking with him. He always has a lot to share, and he's very open and honest in his responses, which always is greatly appreciated as well. So here we go. Before we get to wrapping up the show, I just want to let everyone know how things are going to work here, because if you haven't followed our show over the last 5 years, you may not be familiar with this. The season's now over. We more than likely will take a break for a week or two to let the playoffs wrap up. Once the USL Championship season is over, we're going to wrap up, or we're going to ramp up our season finale shows, which includes a recap of the season show, player grades, team grades for the season, and then wrapping up everything with our award show before we go on a hiatus until early 2025. So that's what's to expect from us going over the next month and a half, just so you're aware of what will be happening and you're not surprised with how things are ran. With that said, let's get to wrapping up the show. First off, I'm going to bring this out. Random thoughts for anyone that has a random thought that they want to share. And I will let's go to DK. You go, random thought.
I don't really have a random thought, but I have a relevant thought. We do have an end of season survey for the Orange and Black Soccer Cast that it would mean a great deal if everybody can participate on and tell us how you think we've done and how we can improve, what you like, what you didn't like. And we'd love to see that. So please fill that out. It really, really helps us provide you the best experience.
And make sure you give me 5-star review. Everyone else, I don't care what they get. Larry, random thought from you.
I don't have a random thought, except to say to all of you who are watching, who watch week in and week out, thank you. I know I can probably speak for all of us here. Brad, who's not on the show tonight, Nathan, who comes on and does some writing for us as well. We all appreciate you very much, and we appreciate the support that you guys give us. And it always makes me feel good when somebody recognizes me at the game for being on this podcast and being the clown who doesn't actually know anything about soccer, but just has a real love and a passion for this. And no, Maddie, nobody can ever forget producer Andy, because frankly, none of us could actually put this together without Andy doing what he does behind the scenes, because none of us are even remotely smart enough.
Well, and if anyone watches back in the days when it was just me and Dylan doing this thing, we had nothing like what we have now with the production value of this show, thanks to producer Andy. So no one will forget producer Andy on here. Dylan, your random thought.
I am legitimately scared that, actually, no, I'm not. Mine's a question. If Gnarly goes the way of UP, or even worse, goes the way of Dandy, which was the short-lived Yankees mascot, who died in an industrial shredder, is that worth it for us to get safe standing?
I'm going to
that everyone can think about for the next couple of weeks and hit us back with an answer at our next show.
I'm going to give you a quick answer on that, Dylan. When I brought my boys soccer team to the game, the final match of the season, they actually loved interacting with Gnarly on the side. We were in front row of our section, and they loved interacting with Gnarly and high-fiving and hugging and taking pictures. So I know a lot of people are not the biggest fans of Gnarly, but Gnarly does engage with the young fans, and the young fans love it. And I will tell you this, they love it. They love interacting with him. They love the high fives. They love taking pictures. They love leading the cheers with him on the sidelines. So no bashing Gnarly, Dylan, please. Couple.
He didn't bash Gnarly. He asked Gnarly or safe standing, which I think I would choose safe standing, but Gnarly's fine.
Why can't we have both? Why can't we have both? We
mean,
can
it
have
would be
both, Dylan.
great. Yeah.
Random thought for me. Quick update. Still no word from Capelli, folks. Capelli does not want to give my son his kits, and they have not emailed me in over a week. So please do me a favor. Go on and email and bombard Capelli. I would say call them, but you can't call. Email them and tell them, hey, get this man his son his kit.
Don't do that. We actually do not promote doing stuff like that. So don't bash or bomb anybody through emails or comments, please.
No, just email Capelli and ask where is Ray's son's kit, because they're not responding to me anymore, and I'm over it. I was diplomatic for the first 2.5 months of not getting a kit. Now I'm over it. I'm getting help from all of y'all. So ask Capelli where my son's kit is. We have 1 game left in the season, and he hasn't gotten his kit yet. So find out where it is. And it was nice to see Colorado Springs wearing their Capelli kits. They had no problems with their Capelli kits, but apparently youth soccer doesn't get them. Yes. With that said, what did we learn today, DK?
I learned through wonderful diplomatic ways to answer that the club is planning to grow and hopefully expand the stadium next season. So more and not less is something I look forward to seeing.
Larry.
It's funny. Keith said exactly what I was about to mention. So yeah, right there with him. I would like to see a little bit of expansion of the stadium. There's room for more. More is less and less is more, and more is also more.
Dylan?
I learned that apparently you have really lost your mind. I mean, it was already mostly gone, but this is something else. I truly hope that the few months that we have off, you can come back and be normal for 2025.
What have I learned? I learned that DK plagiarizes Larry's thoughts, and I've also learned that all of y'all support my Capelli rant because you all have my back. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap this thing up. We want to thank everyone that participated in this episode, including Dylan, DK, Larry, producer Andy, and our guest, President of Business Operations, Dan Rutstein for Orange County Soccer Club. Also want to thank all the listeners that listened along. Thank you, Maddie, for supporting my Capelli rant. You're the one true fan. You're the one true believer, the true got my back. Please make sure you like, you share, you subscribe our podcast in any form possible, whether it's on social media, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Make sure you give us a thumbs up, a 5-star review. That really helps get our message out to everyone out there. For everyone involved with this, I want to thank y'all. This has been the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out.